Hello and welcome to Decoding Attachment Style. Today what I want to do, it's a little different than the usual. I've been getting a lot of questions from you guys and I thought that I would answer some of them here. These questions are really from the last Instagram live that I did, and I was unable to get through all of the questions. So I'm going to attempt to answer those questions here. Remember, if you haven't done it as yet, please hit the subscribe button, share this with your friends. You never could tell who needs this information. Attachment style is still a very new theory that is still being explored, only discovered in 1970, I believe, 70, 79. But it's understanding attachment style has been helping so many people to build better relationships. So if you haven't done it as yet, again, please subscribe. I often recommend that you get a notebook and collect some notes. It's how I see my clients make progress. So, let's get to it. A fearful avoidant leaving an anxious attached person, do we treat them as an anxious attached? Actually, that question really is a fearful avoidant leaning more to the anxious attachment style side of things. How do you treat them? Do you treat them as an anxious attached person? Now, let me break it down one more time for those of you who are now joining us. A fearful avoidant attached person, they are in what I like to call a limbo state. It is where they want connection, but they are afraid of that connection. Why are they afraid? They are afraid that if they get too close to someone, then their independence, they're going to be told what to do, what they can do, when they can't do it, or their partner is going to be would get upset if they go out with their friends or if they're involved in hobbies like they usually do. And where is this fear coming from? Well, right back in their childhood, right? Everything leads right back to childhood. You're going to hear me say that from time to time again. Why is it childhood? I had a client who once said that, if someone told them to sit in a corner when they were little, the child would just do that. And it doesn't matter how long it was. It didn't matter how long it was. The child would just sit there for hours. And when the adult came back and found that the child was sitting there, the adult would say, "Oh, you're such a grown-up. You're such a good child. You stayed there." Now, what that does for us as children, it says we're getting this person's approval. We're doing something, even though it's uncomfortable. It's never going to be or should be comfortable for a child to be sitting in one place for hours, right? It's not normal. It's not natural. It's not healthy. But the child is hearing that it's being approved of, that somebody thinks that it's special and it's getting that validation, even though they're uncomfortable with it. So they continue to do this thing. Now, as they grow up in grown-up relationships, they've already learned that they've got to be sort of like a chameleon. They have to do what other people would approve of or would like or appreciate in order for that person to like them. Now, with a fearful, avoidant, attached person, when they're in a relationship and everything's going great, and now they meet with their partner and they're like, "You know what? Joe invited me out for some drinks the other night. Him and some guys are going, and I think it would be great. I think I'm going to go." And as a partner, if I'm going to get all annoyed and I have a passive aggressive and I'm kind of like, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever" attitude around my partner, after that, my partner starts to sense that I'm not okay with him going to Joe's and Joe with the other guys to hang out. Now, when we're anxious attached, which that's what I was, I would have been thinking like, well, why can't I go as well? Why am I not included? Is Joe taking his girlfriend? Are the other guys going with their girlfriends? What are the guys doing together? Why can't they just be at home with their girlfriends? Or are they going there to check out other people? When we start to behave that way and think that way and feel that way as anxious attached or even as a fearful avoidant partner, then our fearful avoidant or dismissive attached partner, they feel as though they can't move without with freedom. They feel like they can't move with comfort. They just can't be. They can't do something that they want to do without that discomfort that you might be angry at them or you might be thinking of leaving them, so they don't feel free. So the dismissive avoidant generally will feel more that way. The fearful avoidant will feel that way in relationships. Those relationships will end, and then they end up with you, and now they're afraid to fall into the same sort of trap again. But they do want a relationship. They want a relationship with someone who could accept them for who they are. It doesn't mean that they're going out to flirt or, do anything that would cause the relationship harm. They just want to hang out. They just want to go out with their friends. They just want to hang out with, doing things alone sometimes. As an anxious attached person, in order for you to feel better in a relationship like this, you must have a life of your own as well. When I was more anxious attached, it's not that I didn't have friends. I did. But I wanted to include my partner in everything. Or if I was with my partner, my friends, I would be texting my partner every now and again to keep them in the loop. Or I'd check my phone to see if they reached out. So my mind and my focus, my energy, even though I was with other people, my everything was still attached to my partner. And that does not allow you or them to have space in the relationship. When we give our partners space, when we give ourselves space to be present with the people who are, the other people who are important to us, then both persons can relax and enjoy each other's company when you do have each other. A lot of this didn't make sense to me when I was anxious attached. I had to start working on my healing. I had to start focusing. It's real work. It's when you're with your friends, you've got to put away your phone and really focus on them and tell yourself that in this 2 hours of being with a friend, you're not going to check your phone. You're not going to text your partner. And after a while, your body starts to become comfortable with your new normal, a new healthy normal. And you're able to be in a relationship that both people are happy with. Now, the question here is, if the fearful, avoidant, attached person who wants closeness but is afraid of it leans more on the anxious side, right? It's a spectrum. When it's more the anxious side, it's that they want to be in the relationship. They're feeling vulnerable. But they're acting sort of needy and clingy, and wants validation, might be provoking you to anger, so you could give them that validation. Do you treat them as an anxious attached? No. You don't want to bend and mold yourself to suit someone else, because then you're becoming the chameleon. You're the one who's shutting down your feelings to accommodate this other person. And you don't want to do that. As a secure attached person, when your partner is acting in an avoidant attachment style or through the eyes of an anxious attachment style, you still have to set your boundaries. You have to, if you're with an anxious attached person, or someone behaving or leaning more that way, as in this case, a fearful avoidant, you want to be able to say, this behavior does not work for me. Let's just say the person is, speaking and you're feeling attacked. You can say, this tone, this language, it does not work for me. I would really appreciate it if we could calm down, gather our thoughts, and communicate in a way that is compassionate and thoughtful and respectful. That alone is letting them know that what they're doing is not acceptable to you. And they could start to formulate their own mental opinions on what you might do if they continue. And now what you have to do is set the boundary with yourself. I've already spoken. I've told this person how I feel about them talking to me the way they're talking to me. What do I do if they continue to? If you sit there and you tolerate it, then you're telling them that you're just fluff. Your words have no weight, and they are going to take you for granted. They're going to say, okay, this person's just talking to scare me. They're not going to do anything. But if they continue speaking that way and you get up and you walk away, you're letting them know that the next time you're going to do the same thing, and they're going to have to deal with the consequences of just sitting there with their words left alone. but you're setting the boundary with yourself. The goal here is to be securely attached so that your behavior and your communication comes from a securely attached space, not accommodating them. See, when I'm teaching about attachment styles, I'm helping you to understand the attachment styles. It isn't my goal to teach you how to adapt to somebody else's behavior so that you can keep the peace. I am not about keeping the peace. I'm about you becoming your true self, honoring your empathetic side, your light side, and honoring the darkness in you, which is the boundary side, the side of you that speaks up, that says, no, this isn't okay. And that there is a secure attached person. It is not for you to mold yourself into what would make someone else happy. So no, you don't have to treat them as an anxious attached. You have to treat them as someone who is securely attached and knows what you deserve and what you want in your life, what you will tolerate into your life. Again, remember, subscribe and leave me a comment on these because I'm going through a few questions here that you've sent in. And I want to know what your thoughts are, what your takeaways are. And if you have questions, just drop it in the comment section as well, and I will get to them. Another question here is how to help an avoidant attached partner to open up in the relationship. Everyone will open up or share when they feel safe to. I got a question from someone on Instagram, and they asked, are avoidant attached persons boring? Or why can they appear boring at times? Avoidant attached people are definitely not boring. They're very interesting. They're very wise, very self-aware. What I've seen is I've seen my own interaction with avoidant attached persons. And I've had like great, wonderful conversations for hours. And then I see them in settings with other people, new people or people they don't feel safe with. And they're very quiet. They're observing. They're taking everything in, or they're just shut down. Now, when they meet new people, they're observing, they're listening, they're taking everything in. They're good at reading body language. They're good at reading what people are saying under what they're saying, but they're taking in all of that information. They're only going to speak when they start to feel safe. If they're met with a conversation and in that conversation, the other person says something like, oh, I can't believe you think that way, then they start to feel like the conversation is no longer a discussion. It's now a debate where we're attacking each other, where we're making the other person feel like they're an idiot or they're stupid for having the thoughts that they have. If we ask questions like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's how you think, that's a criticism. It's a judgment. It's me thinking that you're less than for thinking the way you do. But if we say something like, that's a different perspective than I would have thought of. Can you help me understand that a little more? That's a discussion. It helps the other person to know that we're interested in their opinions. Yes, ours would be different or might be different, or we've never even thought of that angle, but we want to understand where they're coming from. Now that opens up for conversation. But if we're just talking about something that might seem like not a big deal, it's just a light conversation, but we're saying something that makes that other person feels criticized or judged, silly, stupid for saying what they said, of course they're going to shut down. In order to help a fearful avoidant open up, we must provide a safe space. Now, let's talk about the anxious attached for just a second here. The anxious attached can talk, and they don't feel criticized or judged by their avoidant attached partner because the avoidant attached partner, they don't do that. They don't jump in and criticize. They may question you. They may question you and ask things like, well, why didn't you go back to school? Which may feel like a criticism. It may feel like a judgment. And again, it's just like it's not your intention to criticize when you're asking questions like, how could you think that way? It is not their intention to do that either. And I have, a number of cases, I've also gone through this where I was questioned about, like, okay, that was a good example. I guess that was my unconscious speaking. Why didn't I go to school? Why didn't I go to college just after I got out of school? And that was a question that made me feel like I had to find an answer to justify why I didn't. So I would get into rambling about, wanting to, but being pregnant and having a child and then going back to school. And then it got to a point where I just had to say, you know what? Nobody's going to get it. It's my story. Eventually, I did go back to school. I chose to. It was the right time for me, blah, blah, blah. But the anxious attached can also feel judged and criticized at times, like they have to justify themselves. And I've seen it done over and over and over again. The difference between the anxious and the fearful avoidant, or the avoidant when it comes to criticisms in, how we show up, whether we're open to trust a person again or open up again, is that the anxious attached stays in that place of wanting to validate themselves or explain themselves, not validate, to explain themselves. So they keep trying to explain and explain and explain. Whereas the avoidant attached will shut down and they'll think nobody's going to get it in anyway, so I'm just not going to even try. And so they shut down instead of communicating more. So to answer the question, the simplest form is allow them to speak, try to understand where they're coming from, and try not to criticize or judge. And we can do that for everyone when we can accept that every human being is very different. We have different opinions, and that's okay. That's why we're such incredible creatures together. We are different. We bring something different to the table. We just need to try to understand where the other one's coming from instead of trying to change them and make them into who we are. We want them to think the way we do. We want them to do what we do. So what exactly did we fall in love with? What exactly did we like about them? If everything that we liked about them, we now want to change. Right? So if we could just now be more grateful for who we have in front of us, accept them for who they are, knowing that it's a human being and they're not going to be exactly as we want them to be, but we can learn from who they are that we're not as yet, and just be open to understanding, we can have better relationships. Third question is, what boundaries should I set when trying with my partner again? And we are about to move in together. All right, I'm just going to take a really quick sip of my coffee. When you're giving someone a second chance, especially if there's been a betrayal in a relationship, you want to move really, really slowly. You want to start dating all over again. I know the dating culture is we meet someone, we spend a lot of time with them in the beginning, and we fall in love with them by the third or the fourth month. It's funny. I went through this with my partner when we first met. I think I told him I loved him after the third or the fourth month. And I was still in that anxious attached phase, the end parts of it. And now I look back at it, and he and I laugh about it sometimes. I did not know him. I can't believe that I told him I loved him. And now I think about it, it's like, what did I love? He's a wonderful man, don't get me wrong. But I didn't know enough about him by the third month to be in love with him, to love him. I was still trying to figure out what I liked about him. So we move in our culture, and I'm not talking about geographic cultures. I'm talking about attachment style culture. We move really fast, and that's because we want the other person to like us, to choose us, to want to be with us. We want to feel validated. We want to feel valued. We want to feel as though we are finally chosen. And so sometimes we jump in with, I love you, without really processing what the heck that means. So when you are going to give another person a chance, and you want to do that as a secure attached person, you are going to take your time getting to know them. You're going to take your time. You are going to start the dating all over again. It means certain things. And look, this is not to put my values or my thoughts, my beliefs onto you. However, that being said, I believe that sex can make relationships incredibly confusing. It can confuse the way we feel about what we really want. It can confuse us as to really getting to know the other person in front of us. It can make it feel as though we're really bonding with the other person, and we are on a physical level, not an emotional level. It could just make us feel, well, kind of miss the red flags, because now we've got serotonin and dopamine and all those fun chemicals rushing our brain, and we don't slow down and pay attention to the person that we're saying that we want to build a life with. This is your choice. It is your choice on what you do physically with someone else. It is also my advice that you slow things down. Get to know them a little bit better before making a decision. I want you to hear me here. I'm saying before you make a decision, a conscious decision, that you are now going to share your body with this person because you believe that they have shown you enough that says, okay, this is the next step that I want to take with you, because this is a huge step that's going to get me a little more emotionally entangled with you. In a way, it's a contract your body is signing up for. And you're the one who decides on where your body goes. You have a choice. But what I would suggest is slow down. Start your dating process all over again. If you've been with someone and they've betrayed you and you're giving them a second chance, it would mean that it's now time to earn your trust. Because in the past, you gave them that trust. You gave them the respect. It's another human being. We want to be able to give people the trust, give them the respect. We don't know what they're going through. And then wait for them to show if they could value that or if they're going to betray it. If you're giving someone a second chance, it means that they've betrayed it. Now it needs to be earned. Your love, your respect, your, what's the other one? I just said it. Your love and your respect, your trust, the big one, your trust. They need to be earned. Now, you could still be kind and compassionate and thoughtful and all of those good sides to you, but it's also a time to protect yourself. You're giving them the trust that they're earning. And if you were a client of mine, the person who asked this question about moving in together, you're giving them another chance and now you're moving in together, I would advise you against it. It is a big jump when you're not really sure if this person can step up to the plate just yet. It is a big commitment. You want to take your time getting to know someone, allowing them a chance to prove that, you know what, the crap that they did in the past, they're not going to do it again. And then make a decision on if this is someone you want to move in with. Take your time. There is no rush. Even if, I've had people reach out and say, but I want to have a child. And I feel like my clock is ticking. All right, I get that. I also know of a lot of situations where people get into relationships because they're really desperate to start a family, and they end up with someone who they can't hold a family with. That person is not ready for that sort of a commitment, and eventually they're left raising their children alone. Nothing's wrong with raising a child on your own. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for what's going to come? So making a decision from a place of desperation and need can lead us into some very prickly situations. You don't want to make decisions based on fear or desperation or any negative emotion. It must be something that you really want to. You want to do something. Another question. My fearful avoidant friend is in denial mode and looking for another victim. What can I do? If you're thinking of a fearful avoidant attached person as looking for another victim, who do we say look for victims? Bad people, criminals, thieves. They're looking for victims. It's a vicious, evil person or a predator looking for a prey. It's an evil person looking for someone they can hurt, a victim. They're looking for a victim, someone that they can hurt, someone they can destroy. If we're thinking of a friend that way, then we're not being a friend. If we're thinking of people that way, then we probably shouldn't care about whether they're in denial or not. We should just let them be because we don't want them in our circle. See, we make a big mistake by demonizing other people, and I don't think we realize it. We see people the way we want to see them. One of the things that I've learned to do to help me with building empathy, but also boundary, is to see all of us as children. So I walk down the street and I see someone in their 80s and they're walking with a cane, and all I could see is them as a 7-year-old. That 7-year-old had dreams. They were probably running and jumping and just this happy being. And that's how I'm able to communicate with that person. I'm able to meet them there. And I find that I'm more joyful and more curious and inquisitive about them. And they start to feel they're happier. They feel valued. They feel heard and like somebody's really paying attention to them. Now, there was a time when I saw people as monsters. I called exes narcissist and all of it. It didn't do anything good for the relationship. When I was in relationships and I thought that this person was just so cold and disconnected and, just horrible beings, that's what I saw. That's all I saw. But when you start to look at people and focus on the good sides of them, the sides that made you smile, that are beautiful, that's all you see, and it changes your energy, and you see more of that from them. But if we're seeing people, we're going around and we're upset, and we're seeing everyone as evil and bad, and they've all wronged us, then that's all we see the world as. All we see is the negative and the pain of the world. And I've seen this a lot on social media. I have people who will send me reels from other coaches and other therapists, or just people talking about attachment styles, and I don't listen to it. Because in that you could hear that whoever is sharing their message about the avoidant attached, they have been hurt and they've not gotten over it. And now they're spewing that anger and hatred and building a community of angry people. We're not going to get anywhere if we see our friends as people who look for victims. Those friends are not going to see us as friends. And if we try to guide them, then they're going to ignore us. And then we say they're in denial. No, they're not in denial. They're seeing you look at them as they're this horrible person, and they don't want to be around us. We look at people and we think that they're horrible, or we make them feel broken and less than. Then we're chipping away at their confidence. We're not lifting them up. And why in goodness gracious name would they want to be with us? That's not the energy anyone wants to be with around. If this person is a friend, what we do with friends is we respect them. We respect their process. We may see them going through the pain and the hurt of their decisions, but we are still there to support them. We're not there to make them feel worse. And if they choose to be in denial, then we know that they're doing that for their best interest or in their best interest. Sometimes it's hard for people to look at themselves and accept that they have been causing the pain in their lives. It's not easy to take that responsibility. So we handle it with grace. We let them be. And we stop thinking that we're better than, because the moment we start to tell people what they need to do, what they should and shouldn't do, then we're really telling them that we're better than, and none of us are. We're here figuring things out. What I share with you is what has worked for me. Would it work for you? Not necessarily so. My story is exactly what I've done. My techniques may not work for you. And that is why I cannot tell you to live your life the way I live mine. Trust me, a lot of people won't be able to. But what I can say is that if you can respect the people around you for the choices they make, the decisions they make, and then you step back and ask yourself, can I handle this? Is this what I want in my life? And if it's a yes, you embrace them. If it's a no, that's a boundary and you step back. You could still love them from a distance and let them be, let them do their thing. And you choose what's best for you. You choose your path, just like I've chosen my path. Then you become your authentic self. You become your own secure, attached being, not mirroring someone else, not being better than someone else or less than someone else, but just being your own person. And that there, just being your own person, carving your own path, that's what a secure, attached person will do. I'm going to get to the rest of the questions another time. Don't forget, subscribe so as soon as you see an episode pop up, you are going to get a notification about it. And feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know how this podcast has helped you and what has resonated with you. Until next time, I am Annalisa Bahadur, and this is Decoding Attachment Styles.